Hi, my name is Susanna Barton, and I'm honored to be with you today. Before we jump in, I want to introduce to you these fine ladies here in the screen. On the left, on the horse, is my maternal grandmother, Bobby Harper, and that's her sister Lee next to her on the other horse. This photo was taken in the 1940s at our family's weekend retreat outside Boerne, Texas. Aren't they cute? I think they are the poster girls for riding off into their sunset years looking hot to trot. Their playful grins and the sweet lives they led as senior adults continue to inspire my newfound passion for grand planning, some highlights of which I will share with you today. I am a local writer with a long history in business reporting, neighborhood news, independent school communications, and column writing on the topics of gratitude and getting older. The latter has taken me to new areas of research and writing, including a seat on Mayor Donna Deegan's Elder Care Subcommittee and authorship of a book, podcast, blog, and newsletter called Grand Plans. My new second half superpower seems to be using a senior caregiving misadventure from years past to normalize conversations about aging and to help folks prepare for their golden years in a productive way. All of this research and ruminating on mitigating what I call Jerry drama has helped me flex another new strength, sign reading. Most of this comes from my background in journalism, where we are taught to listen and look for the trends and find the story. To be a good journalist, you have to be an excellent sign reader, and signs I do see. I read a lot of research and stories about older adult issues every day, and I see some dangerous signals on the grand plan's horizon that we need to acknowledge and address and get prepared for now. Perhaps you've seen these signs too, and I'd actually be really surprised if you haven't. Here are the big flashing signs I see on the horizon. Number one, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, the U.S. population aged 65 and over grew nearly 5 times faster than the total population over the 100 years from 1920 to 2020. The other big statistic here is that by 2030, all baby boomers will be age 65 and over. Sign two. According to the Pew Research Center, the number of Americans age 100 and older is projected to more than quadruple over the next 3 decades, from an estimated 101,000 in 2024 to about 422,000 in 2054. Sign three. According to Northwestern Mutual, most retired Americans believe they will need nearly $1.5 million in the bank to retire comfortably. However, that is a sharp contrast to the average amount that U.S. adults have saved for retirement, actually, which is about $88,400. Given that 11,000 Americans will turn 65 every day through 2027, only half of boomers and Gen Xers believe they'll be financially ready for retirement when the time comes. Sign four. According to longtermcare.gov, someone turning age 65 today has an almost 70% chance of needing some type of long-term care services or support in their remaining years. And that is a very important statistic to remember. Sign five. New data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics show the price of in-home care for the elderly increased by 14.2% between March 2023 and 2024. Sign six. Harvard experts note there is an acute lack of safe, affordable, and accessible housing options to accommodate demand. Sign seven. According to AARP, in-home caregivers are in very high demand, whether they're being paid directly by clients or through long-term care insurance, nonprofit organizations, state funding, or government programs such as Medicaid. Nearly 3 in 4 nursing homes are concerned that they may have to close their facilities over staffing problems. Sign 8. In 2021, nearly 11.2 million older adults were cost burdened, meaning they spent more than 30% of their household income on housing costs. That's an all-time high. Other challenges include homelessness among older adults. That also is increasing. Collectively, these signs point to one big headline. There are a great, increasing many of us who will be heading into our much longer lasting golden years with fewer financial resources, a shortage of caregivers, and a major dearth of affordable housing options and senior living arrangements. That is the story, folks, according to my sign reading abilities at least. Facts is facts, signs is signs. It is time to make sure your grand plans line up accordingly. So, what do we do with these signs? We know they're on the horizon, we can't avoid them, and we can't turn around and go back the way we came. What is the call to action here? How will we navigate the crowded, increasingly older, and decidedly underfunded and overstretched golden years experience waiting for us ahead? In my mind, we have three options. One, we can develop a business plan for a service or a company that can provide much needed resources for this demographic and make lots and lots of money. Or two, we could dream up a charitable or nonprofit organization that can provide much needed resources for this demographic and make a real difference. Or three, we can make the smartest move of all. We can study the numbers and signs and trends, talk about it all with our friends and family and people, and alter our own grand plans accordingly. This is the easiest and most attainable option. All it takes is an investment of your time and an acceptance of the possibilities. It only requires an open mind and a readiness to understand the opportunities. The rewards are priceless when it comes to being realistic, communicative, and well educated about your grand planning work and sharing it openly with your friends, your loved ones, and community. This is a plan in which we can all invest and find success. So let's look at the steps we can all take now to develop a grand plan that puts us on a straight and road rage free journey past the flashing signs out there in the distance. Let's talk about what we can all do now to buckle up and prepare for the ride. I'll begin with my own sign story because it informs the senior planning path I found myself on today and is the inspiration for my book, Grand Plans 2.0: How to Mitigate Jerry Drama in 20 Easy Steps. I got my first view of sign reading 30 years ago when my mom passed away unexpectedly at age 51. I was just 20 with no experience adulting, so my brother and I lingered quietly on the sidelines while our dad drove all the cleanup and processing and headaches that the passing of a loved one usually includes. This was nothing new. My dad was always someone's person. And funny, his last name, my maiden name, was actually Person. My mom was the same kind of person. She and my dad both supported older loved ones, and as far as I could see, caring for family in their second half was often complicated and always persistent. Being the person didn't look easy at all. One of the signs that popped up on my path later was the death of my father in 2021 at the age of 80 following a brief illness. Like my mom, he was pretty low maintenance in the Jerry drama department. And let me stop here and explain the term Jerry drama. By Jerry drama, I mean when an older loved one's wheels have completely fallen off the bus due to lack of planning, and there are crises and explosions and fires to address literally everywhere, every day, and with every little thing. Sticking to our analogy, Jerry drama is like one of those dizzying signs that is pointing in every direction at once, or like the I 95 exit ramps for the Jacksonville International Airport, signs that make you go, "What in the world?" More on that in a minute. So back to my dad. He was not long on Jerry drama, thankfully. Sure, there were conversations and senior planning efforts that could have been more productive. We could have had better real talk about why his gigantic home in the wilds of northern Mississippi, the one filled with period furniture, party goods, and TJ Maxx apparel, was not the most ideal place for aging in place. We thought we had a lot more time left to hash that out. We were wrong. These are some pictures of his home and our cleanup efforts or clean out efforts. But the sign that really prepared me for, or rather scared me into grand planning, was a 5 year caregiving misadventure for an elderly couple in South Florida beginning in 2018. They were the mother and stepfather of a childhood friend who died tragically 10 years before. My friend was the only child of an only child of an only child. Family was practically non existent in this situation. Unbeknownst to me, my friend's mother and stepfather had named me power of attorney and successor trustee should she or her husband be unable to manage their affairs. And it's a good thing they had planned so well legally and signed somebody up, because when I got involved, their life was in total shambles and they needed someone, anyone, to throw them a lifeline. I started getting cryptic calls and worrisome messages from their housekeeper about unpaid bills and unsafe living conditions, and worse. I learned this couple had begun a slow spiral into a sad and desperate situation. One was nearing end stage Parkinson's and could barely communicate or get out of bed. The other struggled with dementia and alcoholism. Neither could care for themselves, much less the other. They also had a big dog, 3 houses full of stuff, dwindling finances, and multiple difficult to access accounts and legal drama from many angles, including their HOA and a nearby assisted living facility that they had reserved but never moved into because of the dog. The power was turned off a few times. One house was 4 days away from foreclosure because that's what happens when you don't pay the bills or taxes. That's what happens when it's go time and you don't have a plan. Though I stepped in to help, I was completely ill equipped to right this sinking ship. In total panic, I learned how to fax POA documents and manage home health care, hospice support, medical needs, home selling, and finances. There was even some fraud and criminal activity to figure out. There was never a perfect answer to any problem. Problems came out of nowhere daily with the speed and intensity of an automatic weapon. My husband called it a Gordian knot, which about sums it up. It was very stressful problem solving such major life issues. How someone was going to pay the power bill, afford 24/7 in-home care, take care of the big dog, and worse for me, clean out and liquidate 2 secondary homes to free up cash for the expense of it all. I'm not sure if it was my age at the time, I was approaching 50, or if people I knew weren't ready to talk about it yet or chose to keep it private. But all these challenges came as a total surprise to me. You read what to expect when you're expecting when you're going to have a baby, but there's no book called How to Successfully Navigate the Senior Experience Without Total Panic on the shelves. No one was having grand plan lunch and learn meetings about this stuff. Even today, I'm still feeling PTSD from it. The scary part, as I see it, is not many people are willing to open their eyes to see all the possibilities and potholes ahead. Some folks are just as happy to be blind to it all. It's so strange. We are very good sign readers and preppers when it comes to planning financially for marriage, child rearing, college, and travel, but the financial realities of the golden years are under discussed. It doesn't have to be this way. Knowledge is power, and it gives us the strength to make plans accordingly for this expensive time of our life. Mapping out our own grand plan is the wisest course. After my personal encounters with second half planning don'ts, I started stirring up conversations through an online community I founded called Grand Plans. I discovered many intelligent people out there had gone through similar life scenarios, and they were quite willing to talk about it, some with great enthusiasm, authority, and understanding. These folks are determined to be more conscientious about their sunset stroll approach for their own benefit and for the sake of their community. Grand planning is one of the most loving things we can do for our families. But what does that look like? According to multiple conversations, interviews, and research, I believe the fundamental action items for designing a workable grand plan are to take the following 10 concrete steps and supplement them with 10 softer steps. Let me take you through the most important steps, the 10 must steps, right now. Step one is a doozy of a first leap into grand planning, and I know it sounds like a lot of work, but it is the foundation for building a workable plan. Make lists of your important information and create a death binder. This empowering task challenges us to account for all the documents, files, papers, contracts, and records that define who we are, what we have, how we live, and most importantly, where it all is. Though most of us know exactly how our financial records or health insurance paperwork is filed away, we need to make sure others do too, so our loved ones can step in for us and steer the ship should we need to step away from the helm. We want to ensure those we've entrusted to help us can have whatever they need to manage our affairs in a pinch. Collecting important information is a powerful place to begin. Whether it's a manila folder full of papers or an organized binder of cataloged information or a digital file or email or important documents binder or collection of pertinent information, start assembling something like that now. Step 2. Hire an attorney and get legit about your legal affairs. All begins with finding the right attorney. As an adult rocking the second half, you'll want to hire the most reputable elder law or estate planning attorney you can find. Elder law attorneys can assist with the legalities of the following issues, according to the American Bar Association: health and personal care planning, pre-mortem legal planning, which is wills and trusts, fiduciary representation, legal capacity counseling and representation, public benefits, special needs, insurance issues, resident rights advocacy, housing issues, employment and retirement advice, litigation and administrative agency advocacy, and senior counseling. When you think of estate planning lawyers, think about documents like wills, revocable trusts, power of attorney, living wills, healthcare proxies, probate, advanced healthcare directives, and asset protection. According to the National Institute on Aging, here are the bare bone basics you will need to have in your important documents file. They are a will, a durable power of attorney for finances, a living trust, a living will, and a durable power of attorney for healthcare. Making official legal preparations is not just an empowering process, it is a loving gift that continues in perpetuity. That's the kind of verdict we all want and need. Step 3, get your financial house and plan in order. The bottom line is aging gracefully and greatly is expensive. So how do we start getting comfortable with the conversation and improve the outcomes? It begins with an honest talk about future costs and a relationship with a certified financial planner or investment authority. Start by doing your research on expenses associated with the second half. AARP recently shared a handy 10-point list outlining these costs, and it includes mostly the expected line items, but also some juicy expense nuggets you may not have considered. Things like healthcare, home maintenance, travel, transportation, fitness and wellness, kids and grandkids, taxes, charitable giving, and professional help. Once you've done your cost research, the next step is to find a financial professional who can best guide you. Start by talking to your friends and family about who they use for their financial planning direction. Then look to the Washington, D.C. based Certified Financial Professional Board Center for Financial Planning, which sets and regulates industry standards. Financial planning for the senior years requires careful thought and planning, attention to detail, and a proactive approach. By addressing our financial planning now, we can better navigate retirement with confidence and security. Step 4. Write your prescription for health, hope, and hospital issues and consider your medical thresholds. Preparation for our healthcare and medical treatment, which is making official our advanced directives, is one of the most stress-relieving acts we can do for our future selves. According to the Mayo Clinic, living wills and other advanced directives are written, legal instructions regarding your preferences for medical care if you are unable to make decisions for yourself. Advanced directives guide choices for doctors and caregivers if you're terminally ill, seriously injured, in a coma, in the late stages of dementia, or near the end of your life. These documents include a medical or healthcare power of attorney, which is also called a durable power of attorney for healthcare, a healthcare agent, a healthcare proxy, a healthcare surrogate, a healthcare representative, a healthcare attorney in fact, or a patient advocate. You also need a living will. a do not resuscitate and do not intubate order. And sometimes you might need a POLST, a physician orders for life sustaining treatment. An elder law attorney can provide and authenticate the necessary forms. If you have an attorney already, ask them to refer you to a specialist, or perhaps they can help you themselves. Some of these forms do not even require the attention from attorney, but certainly attorneys are familiar with their use and importance. Once these documents are prepared, seal the deal by promising to execute two final tasks. First, communicate your plans to anyone who will listen, often and make it urgent. And second, make sure you have these documents stored in an easily accessible and portable place. Step 5. Know your aid ABCs. Let's remember a statistic I threw at you earlier, that 70% of us, that's most of us kids, will require long-term care during our lifetime. And highlight this fact: a private health insurance and Medicare company do not pay for long-term care. There are only 3 ways to pay for the very expensive, always ongoing long-term care. 1, out of your own pocket. 2, via Medicaid, which you must qualify for. Or 3, through a generous long-term care insurance policy, which you must have planned for ahead of time. So it behooves all of us to get knowledgeable about the government and veterans aid programs for which we might qualify, and whether or not a long-term care insurance plan suits our individual situations. And better to do it early while you're healthy and can get on it and don't need it. To learn more about Medicaid and Medicare, go to medicaid.gov and medicare.gov. For veterans benefits, visit va.gov. Lastly, talk to your friends, family, and your financial advisor about long-term care insurance policies and who they'd recommend to further the conversation. This is a really important education and can change the trajectory of your grand planning. Step 6, find help. Research professional resources that are available to you. There are some wonderful senior service providers out there. Beef up your grand planning by knowing they exist and how they can support you long before it's go time and you're freaking out and have no idea who to ask for what. Here are a few professional services to know about: geriatric care managers or aging life care experts, caregiving provider firms, senior living placement specialists, daily money managers, elder law or estate planning attorneys, hospice providers, and end-of-life doulas. Yes, working with some of these professionals can add greatly to the cost of your long-term care help. However, they really provide some key services that can enhance the experience. Knowing they exist can be a big help when you're trying to navigate challenging situations. Step 7, educate yourself on the cost, scope, and reality of the senior life you envision, especially your residents. Part of making a workable grand plan is aligning our visions of senior living with reality. That involves getting educated on the cost, scope, and affordability of these aspirations. Whatever your vision of living includes, implementing it successfully requires careful research, frank conversations, and an openness to preparation that suits your unique situation. The National Council on Aging suggests there are 5 primary options in this housing realm, including 1, independent living communities; 2, assisted living communities; 3, memory care facilities; 4, nursing homes; and 5, in-home care in a home that has been renovated to accommodate future mobility needs. This step requires extensive research, and my best advice is to immerse yourself in the options, cost, and associated affordability and availability. It may be worth your time to connect with a senior living specialist who can show you what's out there. Whatever you do, don't wait until it's go time to consider your housing possibilities. Chances are you won't have good options if you do. Step 8, toss it. Minimize yourself and your stuff. Lessening our load of stuff begins with conversations, authentic engagement with children, grandchildren, or younger friends. Use precious time with these loved ones to ask them about what items of yours they admire, might enjoy, or might be itching to use in their lives. They may have their eye on a few things, or they might not one more thing to care for, and that's okay. The goal is to pare down and not take it personally. Now that you've understood what's important to whom, plan a purge of epic proportion. Go through all the drawers, closets, shelves, and make a mental or actual pile of anything you don't use or like. If you don't have the energy, flog it all out onto the driveway and sell it for bargain hunter prices. If not, hire an estate sale company or auction house to assess your prices. Let them sell it to the people they think will be interested. But never, under any circumstances, expect a windfall, a small fortune, or your nest egg for senior living greatness to result. Your stuff has very little value in the big scheme of things. Let that expectation settle in and be ready for it. Got a storage unit full of stuff you haven't seen in 10 years? Empty it now. Storage facility companies are notorious for jacking up monthly rental fees every time it rains. So the $75 a month you paid last year is now costing you and your estate double or triple that figure. Life is too short to be weighed down by stuff you don't use, like, or need. It's also too short to be the star of your own show 24/7. That's why lessening self is also part of this process. Instead of thinking of how you will achieve or be successful or win, consider ways you can help, support, share with, mentor, or teach others. Taking the focus off yourself and your stuff is essential to grand planning. Step 9, communicate with your people early, honestly, and often. This is a critical task. It's one thing to make your death binder and declutter and get your finances together and put yourself on a list of independent living communities that meet your needs. All that is wonderful. You get a gold star. But it's all for naught if you aren't communicating with your people, whether they are your adult children, your friends, or someone you have chosen to manage your affairs when you can no longer do so. Without the real talk, sans a commitment to get aligned with your posse, your gold star grand planning may be kaput. So talk about it, overshare, be annoying in your end of life yammering. Your second half is no time to be private or closed up about issues of finances, legal plans, and advance directives. It's time to be an open book. Without the communication ingredient, grand planning is a non starter. And step 10, relinquish the keys and be eager to be a passenger. Retirement from driving does not have to wreck your life. With a little expectation, understanding, and celebration, we can move through this intersection with confidence, knowing we are all well prepared to handle the road ahead. Start by accepting the possibility that you may be unable to drive one day and make a contract with yourself to plan accordingly. Then it's time to reflect on all the transportation options available to you and how you will successfully implement them into your daily routine. Ride hailing apps like Uber, Lyft, and GoGo Grandparent and other taxi and limousine calling services are the new norm. Do some research now on your options and start using them before you must. Also, there is a real future in driverless car technology and even drone taxis. Keep your eyes open for new advances in transportation technology, apps, and services that can make your life easier one day. Next, spend some time familiarizing yourself with public transportation options in your community. Make sure you know where nearby bus stations are located and what routes will take you to the places you go most often. If you live in a senior living community, understand what shuttle options are available to you and where they go and when. And no matter where you live, start thinking on neighbors, younger family members, and other drivers nearby who may be willing to drive or run errands for you one day. The most serious consideration you can make, however, is where you will live. You may be thinking about moving to a retirement village or senior housing community, living in a smaller house that has been designed with aging in place resources, choosing a multifamily home, or moving in with friends and family. Whatever your plan is, don't forget to factor in walkability, public transportation, and proximity to commercial centers. A decision to move into a condominium tower with sidewalk access to a town center, for example, may single-handedly mitigate all your future transportation challenges. A good grasp of housing options and their level of walkability can be a game changer. So that's all of the first 10 steps. But wait, there's more. My book ends with 10 soft steps, or shoulds, which you can all read about in Grand Plans 2.0. As a little preview spoiler, I'll list those for you now. The next 10 steps we all need to take are to dig into it, consider pet acquisitions carefully, embrace your age, appearance, and role, focus on your mind, body, and soul, trust the people who love you, connect with others through faith, interests, pick your people, be relevant and keep up with key technology, invest in younger generations, service, and others, contingency plan, be realistic, open, and flexible. And lastly, walk your walk. Embrace a legacy mindset, practice empathy, humility, and gratitude. I hope I haven't exhausted you. I know I've exhausted myself, but really, talking about this process is exhilarating to me because I know what happens when people don't take these steps. Massive Jerry drama ensues every time. It bears repeating. If you can accomplish, discuss, or consider at least a few, even one, of these 20 grand planning do's, I promise you will shine and be shown great appreciation and affection by your people. You will be on that right track. You'll also feel the peace of doing something generous and loving for yourself and your people. Only good comes from honest conversation, realistic planning, trust, compassion, and empathy for others. This is the truth. The fact that everyone has to deal with this cannot be understated, nor can the number of people who don't have a reliable network to fall back upon. Sometimes options 1, 2, 3, and 4 are not available. You simply must have a plan, several of them. I've been blogging, podcasting, and promoting conversations about these critical ingredients for the past 2 years almost. Seeing a workable grand plan emerge from so much craziness has been cathartic. We can all enjoy this kind of peace if we take these same steps during our life journey, if we can be conscious of and committed to making them. So that's the genesis of Grand Plans, how to mitigate Jerry drama in 20 easy steps. I hope you will consider reading it and taking actions on a few of the points that feel manageable to you. Most of all, I hope this book prepares you for the future, the one we can all see on the horizon, and inspires you to be open to and self aware of the possibilities ahead. We must normalize the thinking around it. If you love the people living life with you, around you, and in the generations behind you, show them you mean it by preparing a workable grand plan. There is significant work we all need to do now to design a peaceful, joyful senior experience, to ride off into the sunset smiling all the way, just like my grandmother Bobby and her sister Lee did during their last inning. I didn't get into their second half story during our time together, but I can tell you they were smart, planful, loving widows and best friends. They both made family their community. They were joyfully frugal, and, along with their spouses, they made sound financial plans for their future, were thoughtful about their living arrangements, and left wonderful legacies of love, generosity, faith, and philanthropy for our generations to model and carry forth. They were early onset grand planners. They were the OG sign readers, and their efforts yielded peace for their entire family. This kind of contentment comes from good grand planning, presence, community, and compassion for others. Most of all, it inspires hot to trot vibes and a pleasant sunset stroll. This can be our destiny too if we claim it, see the signs for it, and plan for it. Thank you for letting me introduce you to the possibilities of a grand plan.